Anderson
get over
tracks all the way back in,
It
does. And he's locked in, but what a goal!
Inundated. So popular.
welcome all. This is the fourth day of the President's 8's Association Croquet Championship at Canley, Victoria, one of the western suburbs of Melbourne, and we're here watching Dwayne Mccormick from South Australia, who's playing the black and the blue balls. He's playing Stephen Forster from Victoria. Now, Stephen is ahead at the moment, and if he wins the last two games today, will win the tournament. Dwayne doesn't have a chance of winning, but can make it a lot harder for Stephen, depending what happens on the other games today. So for those of you who've not seen croquet before, the way it works is you have two balls and your opponent has two balls, and you have to hit each ball through all 6 hoops on the croquet lawn, and then in a certain pattern, and then have to hit them back through all 6 hoops in another pattern. And the aim is to get to 26 hoops, or to be ahead when time runs out. Now, this game we're watching in front of us is an untimed game, so it could go for a while depending on the quality of play, but basically a croquet match goes time-wise roughly the same as a 3-set tennis match. So if you have a top tennis player, Roger Federer, somebody like that, beating or playing somebody who doesn't give them much opposition, they'll win in straight sets, probably take about half an hour. That's about as quick as a croquet game can be completed in a competition anyway, without doing anything deliberately rushed or silly. But if you get two very similar standard players hacking it out for a while, it can take 3 hours. Similar again to a long 3-set tennis match. And this one shouldn't take more than an hour or so, given that the players involved are two of the best players in the country. But we will see. So Dwayne Mccormick here is playing his black ball, and he's just gone through the 3rd hoop. So each ball has to make 12 hoops in total, 6 in one direction, and then the same 6 hoops back in a different way. Dwayne is hampered here, so he has one shot at the moment, and he has to either make the next hoop in sequence, so you've got to go through all the hoops in a particular order. The next hoop is roughly 21 yards away from where his ball is at the moment. Croquet being an antiquated sport, use antiquated terminology as far as distances and things like that go. But basically the only way he's got to continue in this turn without letting his opponent in is to hit this red ball, which it looks tricky given that he can't get a swing on it properly. We'll see how he goes. Mike Conn, one of the most experienced referees in Victoria, supervising to make sure he doesn't do anything illegal. All is good, and Dwayne may continue. So the way a croquet game works, as far as whether you can continue or not, is that it's like snooker. Snooker, 8-ball, you're required to pot certain balls in a certain order, and here you're required to hit balls through certain hoops in a particular order. It's a similar kind of principle. When you walk onto the lawn at the beginning of your turn, you are only able to take one shot, and if you do not go through whatever hoop the ball you choose to play is up to, or you do not hit another ball, that's the end of your turn and the opponent comes in. Now, with that one shot, you can either go through a hoop, in which case you can get another shot, just like snooker, you're rewarded for doing something good, or you can hit another ball, in which case you get 2 more shots. Now, effectively, you can keep accumulating shots like that by hitting other balls and give yourself more shots between each hoop. Now, you can only hit each other ball once between each hoop. So you're limited to 7 shots in total. So Dwayne, he's come through a hoop, so he has 1 more shot, and he can either go through the next hoop, which is miles away, or he can hit another ball. If he goes through the next hoop, he gets 1 more shot, but if he hits another ball, he gets 2 more shots. The only other rule being that those 2 shots must start from wherever the ball that you hit ends up. So Dwayne is playing black, and that's what we call his striker's ball. And the striker's ball has hit the yellow ball, so he gets 2 more shots, and he has to take the first of those shots from in contact with yellow, wherever yellow ends up. So he'll now send the black across towards the blue ball. With his second shot, he will hit the blue, and then he can have 2 more shots if he so chooses. Even if he doesn't choose, he's got to have 2 more shots. So he's hit black onto blue. He gets 2 more shots. He must take the very first shot from wherever blue ended up, which is up here. And with his second shot, he will send black near red. Sorry, with the first shot, he'll send black near red, and with his second shot, he'll hit red, which will entitle him to 2 more shots. So he's now got to pick up black, or move black, place it next to red, wherever red ended up. And the first stroke will be used to send black in front of the hoop. This is the hoop that black must go through next. And with the second stroke, we'll put black through the hoop. And then he starts all over again. So basically, if you keep playing good shots, keep going through hoops, keep hitting other balls, you can accumulate shots and keep going right around the lawn until you've made all your hoops with black, in which case you have to stop. You can't play your other ball, so your other partner ball in this case is blue. You can't play your other ball until your opponent has had a turn. So Dwayne will go around and make however many hoops he wants to, assuming nothing goes wrong. He will stop and set up somewhere where his opposition, so red and yellow, played by Stephen Forster of Victoria, somewhere where it's not easy for red and yellow to hit anything or go through any hoops. He'll hope that his opponent will miss, then he'll be able to continue with blue. The way we're looking at the lawn at the moment, irrespective of geography, you are looking northwards as far as a croquet lawn is concerned. So we are viewing from the south boundary. So Dwayne is up the north end of the lawn, and you have the west boundary on the left and the east boundary on the right of your screen. So the sequence of hoops for a croquet game starts at the most southwesterly hoop. So the first one you've got to hit your ball through is the one in the bottom left of the lawn, and you proceed around through the other hoops in a clockwise spiral, so around the outside. So if you see a long shot again in a moment by any chance here, so to the bottom left of your screen is hoop 1, and up here near Dwayne is hoop 2. There we go. So hoop 3 is on the top right of the lawn, hoop 4 on the bottom right, and then hoops 5 and 6 are up the middle. And after you've made those 6 hoops, you then come back around the lawn in an anti-clockwise spiral, which is what Dwayne Mccormick is doing here. So he will come through this hoop from the far side, back towards the commentary position, and then the 8th hoop is further down the lawn towards us. Now, if at any point the player attempts to make a hoop to send the striker's ball through a hoop and fails to do so, that's the end of his turn. Similarly, if they aim to hit another ball with their striker's ball and they miss, that's the end of their turn. There are all sorts of other things which can be end of turn. There are illegal ways to hit a ball, which can be a fault. In certain strokes, if you send a ball off the lawn, that is also the end of turn. But we'll get to that sooner or later. Now, Dwayne here is placing red in an exact position so that when he finishes his turn, red is in such a spot that yellow, red's partner ball, remember red and yellow play against blue and black, so that yellow, red's partner ball can't hit it, or at least can't hit it easily, and yellow will be in a similar position down the other end of the lawn. Now, at certain points in a croquet game, a player coming onto the lawn, so at the beginning of their turn, can choose to play the balls from a spot other than where they lie. So as opposed to snooker or golf or anything like that, where you always have to start your shot from wherever the ball happens to be at the moment, in certain situations in croquet you may pick up either of your ball and play it from a designated area of the lawn. So the aim for Dwayne Mccormick when he finishes his break, which is what is this sequence of hoops in a row is called, is to leave the opponent in such a place that it's very difficult for him to get going or to hit anything from either the position of the balls where they lie or the designated starting areas where they can choose to lift their ball to. And he'll leave himself very close together somewhere else on the lawn. This is the 9th hoop, so although each ball must be hit through 12 hoops in a particular order, so all 6 hoops on the lawn in a particular pattern and then all 6 hoops again in a different pattern, players at this level normally stop after they have made 9 hoops. And that's because if they make more than, let's say this another way, there are certain hoops on the lawn which, when you hit your ball through them, that gives your opponent the choice to play the balls where they lie when you walk onto the lawn, or to pick up either of the balls that they are playing and play it from a certain spot on the lawn. So if you go through particular ones of these hoops together, so hoop 7 and hoop 9, just out of interest, the opponent gets an extra advantage. They get basically a free hit. So the players normally stop. Sorry, hoop 7 and hoop 10. So I haven't explained that very well, but basically, if he makes more than 9 hoops, he'll give his opponent an extra free shot, which he certainly doesn't want to do. So he'll stop after 9 hoops. Yellow and red will be in such placed in such a way that they theoretically can't hit each other from where they lie. So if you see at the moment yellow on the bottom right of your screen and red top left, the chances are that they will not be able to hit each other because of that peg in the middle of the lawn. It's about 1.5 inches wide, will be smack in the middle of the line between the two, and blue and black, which are on the right hand side of your screen, will be in such a position that yellow, the player hitting yellow, will not be able to get a swing on his ball to hit either black or blue. But we'll see. irrespective of whether the opposition can hit or not, Dwayne McCormick, who's the player on your screen now, is leading 9-0, and for a game that's first at 26, that's a good start. Well done, Dwayne. So Stephen Forster couldn't hit anything from where the ball's laid, so he had the choice to pick up either his red or his yellow ball and play them from a certain part of the lawn. Now he could play them either from either of two half boundaries effectively. So he can pick up either ball and play them from the northern boundary, which is the one furthest away from the screen, and that's going to give him the shortest shot to try and hit another ball to accumulate more shots to keep going. Now the shot he had there was probably 17 or 18 yards long, so 14 metres roughly, and he missed. Very good player though he is. It's very hard to hit a croquet ball onto another one at a considerable distance consistently. So back to Dwayne McCormick of South Australia, who will be walking onto the lawn and this time playing the blue ball. So Dwayne is black and blue. Black has made 9 hoops, and he will now begin with blue to see if he can make some hoops with that ball. So each ball has to make 12 hoops. Black, already having made 9, can only make 3 more if he decides to play black. Blue can make all 12, so that's going to be the better option in this case. So blue as yet hasn't made any hoops, so it's still for the first hoop, which is bottom left of your screen, and the ball has to go through the hoop from the camera side, so it must go to the north. So he walks onto the lawn, he has 1 hit, he hits blue onto black, and now he must pick up his blue ball, place it next to black, wherever black ended up, and that's where he begins his next 2 shots. Now you can see him measuring things with his mallet there. That is because at all times, or almost all times anyway, the balls must be within or no closer than a yard to the boundary line of the court. So when black went out of bounds, he had to bring it back in 1 yard. So now he's played the first of his 2 shots. He has 1 shot left. He has to get it through this hoop to continue. And he has not made it right through. Just to give you an idea of how little margin for error there is in this, the croquet ball is 3 10/16 of an inch wide, and the hoop through which each ball must go is no more than 3 11/16 of an inch wide. So there is, 1/16 of an inch, so less than 1.4 millimeters tolerance gap between the width of the ball and the hoop, and in big events like this one that's likely to be even smaller, maybe 1/4 of a millimeter, something like that. Now the balls are round, so they do spin and jiggle through, but there's an extreme amount of precision required. So since he didn't get through the hoop, Stephen Forster, who's playing red and yellow, had a chance to hit something, which he did. So he's played red and he's hit black. He now has 2 shots from wherever black ended up, and his aim will be to arrange the balls in the next sequence of shots so that when he comes through this hoop, he's got something he can easily hit on the other side and something up at the next hoop ready to hit. So if you hit your ball onto another ball, you get 2 more shots. You can accumulate shots going around the lawn, and if you can set the balls up in such a pattern that you can leapfrog your way around the sequence of hoops, that makes things a lot easier. Given that he wants a ball at the next hoop, it's possible that he will be placing his red next to black and then sending red over towards yellow, which is the bottom right hand corner of the lawn. Now, from where he's placed it there, he probably won't do that, but certainly a possibility. So note the clips on the top of the hoop. So there's 1 clip per ball, and when a player goes through, when a player hits their ball through the hoop that it's supposed to be going through, they pick up their clip and they carry it round with them until they've finished, and then they place it on the next hoop that the ball, their striker's ball, so in this case the red, is up to, and the clips denote which hoop each ball must go through next on the lawn. So on that first hoop that Forster just made with red, the blue and yellow clips are still sitting on the top, so that is the hoop which both of those balls must go through next. And now black is further around the lawn. It's on the 10th hoop. Well, it's on the top right of your screen. We'll see that later on. And red won't be put on a hoop until Stephen Forster has finished his turn. Now, given that Forster couldn't get a ball up to the next hoop before he made hoop 1, he must do a big shot to get both balls up there to continue. So the reason he's hitting both balls up there and not just one is because he now only has 1 more shot to go through this hoop with the red ball. And once he goes through the hoop, he then only has 1 more shot to continue. And he wants a ball as close as possible to the other side of the hoop so that when he goes through it, the next shot is a short one. Now he has obviously decided that he's too far away to make that hoop consistently, so he will shoot back at his partner ball, which is yellow, on the bottom right hand corner of the lawn, just off screen, so that he at least has a short shot when he next has a turn, hopefully anyway. So Dwayne Mccormick from South Australia coming back on, has to play either black or blue. Black and blue look about 12 yards apart, and for players of this calibre, these are some of the top players in the country, they're going to hit one ball onto another at a distance of 12 yards probably 50% of the time, maybe a little less than that. The real top players in the world will hit a bit more than that, but Dwayne is a very good player. We'll see. So I'm going to give him a 40% chance, I'm feeling unsporting, of hitting one of these 2 balls onto the other. So he can choose to play either of the balls, and the choice he makes will depend on how many hoops he can make with the ball with which he hits. So black has only got 3 hoops to make, whereas blue has 12. And the other thing which will determine his choice of shot is if he misses, where the balls will end up on the lawn and whether or not that will advantage the opposition. So he chose to play the ball which had the least hoops to make, which probably suggests that he thought he was going to miss. And he's decided that missing with black is going to be better than missing with blue as far as his opposition is concerned. As I said before, each ball at nearly all stages of the game has to be no closer than a yard to the edge of the lawn. So that's why he has measured it in with his mallet. All these mallets are different lengths, but they've all got a yard marking on them somewhere. Much easier than carrying around a yard ruler. Now this is a situation where you can be closer than a yard to a boundary, is if you have just hit a stroke where 2 balls start in contact with each other. Then the next stroke can be played from closer to the boundary than a yard. The red ball's going for the second hoop, which is just off the top left corner of your screen. And remember that when the striker's ball, in this case red, hits another ball, the next shot must begin wherever that other ball ended up. So the aim there was to hit red onto blue in such a way that blue went as close to the next hoop as possible. So that when he takes his 2 shots, which he's doing now, they're very short shots, and he has a greater percentage of chance of carrying on. So the first shot he's gone in front of the hoop. Second shot he will attempt to go through it. Then, having gone through a hoop, he gets an extra shot. And he may start all again. And thankfully blue is sitting there waiting, so he has a short shot onto blue. So with his 1 shot he can hit blue and take 2 more shots. It's only really worth scoring. So the scores at the moment are 9-8 to Dwayne McCormick, who's the out player. Stephen Forster, who's in here, is just coming up to the 9th hoop. So he will, when he makes this hoop, will equalise the game. Now, as I said before, he will stop after the 9th hoop for various complicated tactical reasons, and he will leave the balls in such a way that his opponent has a shot or has a turn, but is hard pressed to hit anything. So he will leave either blue or black in a position where the opponent can't get a swing at it with his mallet, so he can't hit it anywhere useful, and the other ball a long way away. And he'll leave himself, so the red and the black, close together, somewhere also a long way away. I'm just looking at some stats for these players. They've played each other 18 times in competition. Stephen Forster, the player on your screen now, has won 11, and Dwayne McCormick, the out player, has won 7. So about 60% in favour of Forster as far as stats goes. Forster also won the game that they played 2 days ago. So this competition, for those either new to croquet or to whom this event is foreign, is played in blocks of 8. So at the venue here at the moment we have 24 players, and the aim is to, or the intention in this event is to get the 24 top ranked players available to play in this event, and then they split them up in 3 blocks of 8. So the top 8 go in one block, the second 8 go in the second block, and the third 8 go in the third block. And you play each other player in your block twice. So it's a double round robin, is what you call the format of the event.